our first video for this topic. Okay, so I've taken the question from textbook page 61, and if you see these functions right, there are actually three types. Okay, so for A, B, and C, they are the vertex form. D, E, F is actually the intercept form, and G, H, I is the general form. Okay, so for every form, I will explain one of the questions. Okay, so for vertex form, I will choose part B to explain. Right, so let's go through the steps one by one. So the first step is to check the value of A. So again, we need to check whether it is positive or negative lah. So here the value of A is positive, so we need to draw a smiley face. Okay, so we go to step 2. Draw the smooth parabola, which is our smiley face. So make sure no breaks in between, and both left and right has the same shape, which means the graph is symmetric. And the third step, find the minimum or maximum point. So this one is a smiley face, so it's the minimum point. Okay, and we need to have the vertex form. So we are in luck because this one is a vertex form. So if we want to find the minimum point, we just extract these two values out. Oops, sorry. So you may be wondering, why this one it is 2? Why suddenly become negative 2? Right, so this one is actually similar to the SOR situation. If you remember that time, for SOR, if it's negative, we need to change it to positive. If it's positive, we need to change it to negative. So this one, the x-coordinate of the minimum or maximum point, which will have the same concept. If you see this one is positive, make sure when you put it out, it's negative. If it's negative, then we put it out must be positive. Okay, so please remember this one. A lot of students will make this mistake. Okay, so once we have this minimum point, we can just put it here lah. And the next step is to find our intercepts. So for x-intercept, we just sub y equals to 0 or f of x equals to 0 lah. Okay, so now we just need to find the value of x. So I did a little bit of manipulation here and there, and then we will have two possibilities. Because the square, I move it to the other side, then we will have plus and minus already. Okay, plus or minus 1. And then my x-intercepts will be negative 1 and negative 3. So if you want to place these two values to this graph here, you need to monitor the x-coordinate of the minimum point first. Okay, the value which is less than negative 2, which is negative 3, must be put on the left. Then this negative 1 must be on the right. Okay, something like this. Then later on for the y-intercept, which we need to sub x equals to 0 to this function here, our value is 6. Okay, so when we want to put this 6 into here, make sure you monitor the x equals to 0, because x equals to 0 will be somewhere here, right? Because it's closer to negative 1. So I'll put the 6 on the right side of the curve lah. Then we can go to the last step, which is to draw our axis. So for the y-axis, I'll just put it on the y-intercept part. Okay, and then the x-axis put at the x-intercepts part. Then I will just label them. And this will be my graph. For the intercept form, I will choose question D. Okay, so same thing as well, check the value of A. So value of A here is negative. Okay, so if negative, we need to draw the set face. Okay, so step 2, draw the set face parabola. And the next step is to find the minimum or maximum point. So for this curve, it's the maximum point lah. Right? So here we need to have the vertex form, but unfortunately for this one, we have the intercept form. So we need to use the completing the square method to find the vertex form, find the maximum point. Right? So here let us cross multiply the things inside the bracket first. Okay, so the first step of completing the square is make sure the value of x squared is 1. As you can see here, it's already 1, so we don't have to do anything anymore. What we need to do is just combine these two values to become negative 4x. Okay, but this 3, right, I want to make sure the things inside the bracket has the values that has x only. So this 3 does not have x, so I need to take it out from the bracket. So here what I can do is this negative 2 multiply with 3. So here outside the bracket there is the negative 6. Okay, so this is my first step to make sure the value of x squared is 1. Okay, and the next step is we need to add the special stuff, remember? So the value of x, which is negative 4, we need to divide by 2 and then square it. And then at the back we need to write out the same thing, it's just that we need to minus it. So this is the second step of completing the square. Then the third step is to combine the values that have square, which is the x and the negative 4 divided by 2, which is technically negative 2 lah. So these three things will combine to form this thing. Okay, and then this part we just need to simplify only. So this one will become negative 4. And now we just need to multiply this negative 2 back to the things in the bracket, so you get this result lah. Okay, and then this one is negative 2 times negative 4, which is 8, and then 8 minus negative 6, so this one is 2. So we have found our maximum point, which is 2, 2. Okay, and then we can plot it here. And for the fourth step is to find the intercept. So again, x-intercept and y-intercept. So x-intercept sub y equals to 0, or f of x equals to 0. But this part we don't need to do, because this one is actually the factorized version of the function. Actually, these 1 and 3 is the x-intercepts. Right? Because if you imagine, right, this one f of x is 0, and then if you move negative 2 to the other side, it's also 0. So we have left with 0 equals to x minus 1, x minus 3, which every time when we need to factorize is always this version, right? One side is 0 and the other side there is brackets. So this would be our x-intercept. So we don't have to waste time to find the x-intercepts again. Alright, so here looking at the x-coordinate of this maximum point, the one lower than 2, we need to put it on the left, higher than 2 on the right. Okay, so 1 on the left, 3 on the right. Then for the y-intercept, just sub x equals to 0 into here, so we'll get negative 6. So again, x equals to 0 from this graph, it belongs to here, the left side. So for negative 6, I will put it here lah, this part, somewhere this part. So the last step, draw the axis, then this would be my graph. And for the general form, I would take a question h lah. Okay, so again, step 1, check the value of a. This one is 2, which is positive. So we need to, when we are drawing the smooth parabola, we need to draw the smiley face parabola. Okay, and then the third step is to find the minimum or maximum point. So this one is the minimum point, but again we need to find the vertex form, but unfortunately we don't have the vertex form here, it's the general form. So we need to use the completing the square method again to help us change this general form to the vertex form. Okay, so again the step 1 of completing the square is to make sure the value of x squared is 1. Okay, so here we need to factorize 2 out, but we also need to factorize the value 2 with the values that have x. Okay, so both of these values we need to factorize 2 out. Okay, so here for the x value is 3 over 2, and then the x squared here is 1 lah. Alright, so this is our first step. Then second step is to add the special thing lah. So based on the value of x, which is 3 over 2, we need to divide 2 and then square. And then at the back we need to divide the, we need to minus the same thing. Then the third step is to combine the values that have square. So these three values will become distinct. So the things that have square is x here, and this one, this value, 3 over 4. And then for this part, we just simplify to get negative 9 over 16, and that would be the last step of the completing the square lah. So now it's just for the value of 2, multiply back to the bracket here. So this one, negative 9 over 16, I multiply 2 minus 2, then I will get this value. So here our minimum point is -3/4 and -25/8. So again, this part, it's positive, but when we pull out, it should be negative. Alright? So I will just label this point here. And the next step is to find the intercepts. So for the x-intercepts, we just sub y or f of x equals to 0 to this function, and using factorization and calculator, we will get your x-intercepts. So again, based on the x-coordinate of the minimum point, the one which is lower than this value, put it on the left, which is -2, larger than this value would be 1/2, would be on the right lah. Okay, and then for the y-intercept, this one is x equals to 0, but technically we don't have to find the y-intercept because this is the y-intercept. Because this part is the c, right? Remember in lesson 11, this part is the value c. C represents the y-intercept. Okay, so this one, as we know, this one is x equals to 0. So if you compare these two values, 0 is closer to 1/2. So I'll put this -2 somewhere closer to 1/2 lah. And for the last step is to draw our axis, and there you have it. This is our quadratic graph.